Welcome to another journey into the quiet corners of history. Tonight, we step away from the noise and haste of our modern world and enter a place where time moved differently, where patience was not just a virtue, but a way of life, where the simple act of writing a single letter was considered a form of prayer. If you find peace in these gentle explorations of the past, if these quiet stories help you unwind from the day or drift peacefully into sleep, before you get comfortable, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Also, let us know where you are watching from and what time it is. These restful escapes into worlds where life moved at a more peaceful pace. We find ourselves in the year 1147. In a Benedictine monastery nestled among the rolling hills of what we now call the Loire Valley in France. The morning bells have not yet rung, and the world is still wrapped in the gentle embrace of pre-dawn darkness. Mist clings to the stone walls like a soft blanket. And somewhere in the depths of the monastery, a single candle flickers in the scriptorium. This is the world of Brother Thomas. Though his name could have been Benedict, or Francis, or any of 100 others. For the life of a monastery scribe was remarkably similar across the medieval world. A life measured not in years or months, but in pages completed. Not in dramatic events, but in the quiet satisfaction of work done well. Brother Thomas has been a scribe for 12 years now. He came to the monastery as a young man of 18, drawn not by any great spiritual crisis, but by a simple love of books and learning. In an age when few could read, and fewer still could write, he possessed a gift that was both rare and precious. His hands, now 30 years old, have copied thousands of pages, psalters and gospels, treatises on theology and philosophy, chronicles of kings and saints. Each manuscript a labor of months, sometimes years. Each page a testament to patience and devotion. But tonight, we will not speak of grand accomplishments or finished works. Instead, we will follow Brother Thomas through a single day. From the pre-dawn hours when he first takes up his quill, to the evening prayers that mark the end of another day's labor, we will discover that in the rhythm of this simple life, there is a kind of peace that our hurried age has largely forgotten. Let us begin where Brother Thomas begins each day. In the scriptorium, that sacred space where books were born from blank parchment and endless, patient devotion. The room is silent now, save for the gentle scratching of his quill against parchment. A sound as soft as autumn leaves, as steady as a heartbeat. The scriptorium is a long, narrow room on the monastery's second floor, chosen for its eastern windows that will catch the first light of dawn. But at this hour, those windows show only darkness. The only illumination comes from the single candle at Brother Thomas's elbow. Its flame steady and bright, casting a small circle of golden light in the vast darkness. Brother Thomas has been awake since what we might call 4 in the morning. Though medieval monks measured time differently, they lived by the rhythm of prayers. 7 times a day, beginning with matins in the deep of night and ending with compline before sleep. Between these fixed points, time flowed like honey, slow and sweet and unmeasured. He sits at his assigned desk, the same desk he has occupied for 7 years now. The wood is oak, cut from trees that grew in these same hills centuries ago. It has been worn smooth by countless hours of use. stained with tiny drops of ink that tell the story of manuscripts completed and knowledge preserved. The surface bears the gentle depressions left by thousands of sheets of parchment. The accumulated weight of words. His chair, too, is worn to fit his body perfectly. The seat has been shaped by years of patient sitting. The armrests polished by the constant movement of his elbows as he works. This is not merely furniture. It is the physical foundation of his spiritual practice, as familiar to him as his own skin. The tools of his trade are arranged with careful precision. To his right, a small pot of iron gall ink, made fresh each week by Brother Marcus, the monastery's ink maker. The recipe is ancient. Oak galls crushed and boiled with iron sulfate and gum arabic. The resulting liquid is deep black when fresh, but will fade to a warm brown with age, giving old manuscripts their characteristic sepia tone. Beside the ink pot, a collection of quills, each one carefully selected and prepared. Brother Thomas prefers goose feathers, the primary flight feathers from the left wing, which curve naturally to fit a right-hand grip. Each quill has been hardened in hot sand, its tip cut and shaped with a small, sharp knife until it forms the perfect writing point. The parchment before him is made from sheepskin, carefully prepared by Brother Augustine, who manages this delicate process with the skill of a master craftsman. The hide has been soaked in lime water for days, then stretched on a wooden frame and scraped with a curved knife until it becomes thin and smooth. Finally, it is rubbed with pumice stone until the surface is perfect, ready to receive ink without blotting or spreading. Each sheet represents hours of preparation, and each sheet is precious. A single mistake, a letter formed incorrectly, a word misspelled, a blot of ink in the wrong place, could ruin an entire page. There is no erasing on parchment. Mistakes must be carefully scraped away with a sharp knife. And even then, the surface is never quite the same. Brother Thomas is currently working on a Psalter, a book of psalms that will be used in the monastery's daily prayers. He began this manuscript 4 months ago, and he estimates it will take another 3 months to complete. 150 psalms, each one copied with perfect accuracy, each one a meditation on the nature of divine love and human frailty. The work requires absolute concentration. As he dips his quill into the ink, Brother Thomas clears his mind of all distractions. The cold stone beneath his feet, the distant sound of wind in the monastery's towers, the faint scent of incense that always lingers in these ancient walls. All of these fade away until there is only the parchment, the quill, and the words. Each letter is formed with deliberate care, the downstrokes firm and confident, the upstrokes light and delicate, the spacing between letters measured by eye and instinct, developed through years of practice. Brother Thomas writes in what scholars will later call Carolingian minuscule, a script developed in the court of Charlemagne and now standard throughout the Christian world. The letters flow across the page in neat, even lines. 25 lines to a page. 35 letters to a line on average. By these measurements, Brother Thomas can calculate his progress with mathematical precision. Today, he hopes to complete 2 full pages. 50 lines of text. Approximately 1,750 individual letters. In the silence of the pre-dawn hours, the scratching of his quill seems almost loud. But it is a comforting sound. The sound of knowledge being preserved, of beauty being created, of time being well spent. Brother Thomas has learned to find music in this rhythm. The dip of the quill, the scratch across parchment, the pause to consider the next word. Sometimes, as he works, his mind wanders to the words he is copying. Today's psalm speaks of finding refuge in God's presence, of the peace that comes from trust and surrender. The words seem particularly fitting as he sits in this quiet sanctuary, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom of centuries. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The familiar words flow from his quill with practiced ease. He has copied this psalm dozens of times before. But each time, he discovers something new. A nuance of meaning. A beauty of phrasing. A depth of truth that speaks to his current circumstances. This is one of the great gifts of the scribe's life. The opportunity to live intimately with the greatest texts of human wisdom. While other men might hear these words once a week in church, Brother Thomas dwells with them daily. They become part of him, woven into the fabric of his thoughts and dreams. The candle burns steadily beside him, its flame a small miracle of light in the darkness. Brother Thomas has learned to judge time by the burning of candles. This one, made from beeswax produced by the monastery's own hives, will burn for exactly 4 hours. When it gutters and dies, he will know that dawn is approaching. And with it, the first bell of the day. The first bell of the day rings at what we would call 6 in the morning, though Brother Thomas thinks of it simply as the time when darkness begins to give way to light. The sound is deep and resonant, echoing through the stone corridors of the monastery, a bronze voice calling the brothers to Lauds, the morning prayer that marks the official beginning of each day. Brother Thomas carefully sets down his quill, not in haste, but with the same deliberate care he brings to every action. He blots the last letter he has written with a small piece of cloth, ensuring that the ink will not smudge or run. Then he covers his work with a clean linen cloth, weighted at the corners with small stones to prevent the parchment from curling as the temperature changes. This ritual of covering and protecting his work is as important to Brother Thomas as the writing itself. Each manuscript represents months of labor, and a single accident could destroy hours of careful effort. He has seen scribes weep over pages ruined by a spilled cup of water or a careless elbow. Such losses are more than mere inconvenience, they are wounds to the soul. He rises from his chair slowly, his joints stiff from hours of sitting in the same position. At 30, Brother Thomas is still young by medieval standards, but the sedentary nature of his work has already begun to leave its mark. His back aches from bending over his desk, his right hand sometimes cramps from gripping the quill. These are the occupational hazards of his calling, accepted without complaint as part of the price of preserving knowledge. The corridors of the monastery are beginning to fill with the soft shuffle of sandaled feet as the brothers make their way to the chapel. No one speaks. The rule of silence that governs monastic life extends to these transitional moments. But there is communication nonetheless, in the gentle nod of recognition, the slight smile of greeting, the shared sense of purpose that binds these men together. Brother Thomas moves slowly, deliberately, as all things are done in the monastery. Haste is considered a vice, the sign of spiritual immaturity and lack of trust in divine providence. The brothers have learned that most things that seem urgent are not, and that the truly important work of life requires patience and sustained attention. The chapel is the heart of the monastery, a soaring space of stone and light that lifts the soul toward heaven. The morning light filters through tall, narrow windows, casting patterns of gold and shadow on the worn stone floor. The air is thick with the scent of incense and beeswax, the accumulated prayers of centuries. Brother Thomas takes his assigned place in the choir stalls, wooden seats arranged in 2 rows facing each other across the central aisle. The arrangement encourages the antiphonal singing that is central to monastic worship, one side of the choir answering the other in an ancient dialogue of praise and petition. The service begins with the soft murmur of Latin prayers, voices blending together in harmonies that have echoed through these stone walls for 3 centuries. Brother Thomas finds deep peace in this routine, the same prayers, at the same time, day after day. In a world of constant change and uncertainty, this regularity provides an anchor for the soul. The psalms they sing are the same ones Brother Thomas copies in the scriptorium, but hearing them chanted aloud gives them a different dimension. The words that appear as black marks on parchment come alive in the human voice, revealing rhythms and melodies that silent reading cannot convey. This is why the work of copying is so important. It preserves not just words, but the living tradition of which those words are part. Laudate Dominum omnes gentes, praise the Lord, all nations. The familiar words wash over Brother Thomas like a gentle tide, carrying away the small anxieties and distractions that accumulate even in monastic life. For these few minutes, there is nothing but the voice of the community raised in praise, nothing but the ancient words that connect this moment to countless others stretching back through time. The service lasts exactly 30 minutes, timed not by clocks, which are still rare and unreliable, but by the natural rhythm of the prayers themselves. When the final Amen echoes through the chapel, the brothers file out as silently as they entered, each man carrying the piece of prayer into the work of the day. After prayers comes the morning meal, a simple affair that reflects the monastery's commitment to simplicity and moderation. The refectory is a long, narrow room lined with wooden tables and benches worn smooth by generations of use. The walls are bare except for a simple wooden cross, a reminder that even the most basic human needs can be occasions for spiritual reflection. Brother Thomas takes his assigned place at one of the long tables, the same seat he has occupied for 7 years. The brothers eat in silence while one of their number reads aloud from Scripture or the lives of the saints. Today, Brother Benedict reads from the Gospel of Matthew, his voice clear and measured, carrying easily through the stone-walled room. The meal itself is modest, a thick slice of brown bread baked in the monastery's own ovens, a small portion of cheese made from the milk of their own cows, and watered wine from grapes grown in their own vineyards. The food is plain but nourishing, designed to sustain the body without indulging the appetites. Brother Thomas eats slowly, mindfully, as he has been taught. Each bite is chewed thoroughly, each swallow accompanied by a brief prayer of gratitude. Even this simple act is a form of meditation, a way of being present in the moment and grateful for God's provision. Nothing is taken for granted in monastic life, not even a crust of bread. The only sounds in the refectory are the gentle clink of wooden bowls, the soft rustle of robes, and the measured cadence of Brother Benedict's voice as he reads. The passage today speaks of the lilies of the field, how they neither toil nor spin, yet are clothed more gloriously than Solomon in all his splendor. The words seem particularly appropriate for men who have chosen to live simply, trusting in providence rather than accumulation. As Brother Thomas listens, he reflects on the connection between the words being read and the work he will soon return to. The manuscripts he copies are, in their own way, like the lilies of the field, beautiful not because of any practical utility, but because beauty itself is a form of praise. The careful formation of letters, the precise spacing of words, the delicate illuminations that will eventually grace the pages, all of these are offerings of beauty to the God who created beauty. By the time the morning meal is finished, the sun has risen fully above the monastery walls. Golden light streams through the tall windows of the refectory, transforming the simple room into something almost magical. This is the light Brother Thomas has been waiting for, the clear, steady illumination that makes detailed work possible. The brothers rise from their tables in unison, a movement as choreographed as a dance, though no one has given a signal. After years of living together, they have developed an almost telepathic awareness of each other's rhythms. They file out of the refectory as silently as they entered, each man carrying the piece of the morning meal into the work that awaits. Brother Thomas makes his way back to the scriptorium, his steps quickened slightly by anticipation. The morning routine of prayer and meal has prepared his soul for the work ahead, but now he is eager to return to his manuscript. The Psalter waits on his desk like an old friend, patient and faithful, ready to receive his attention once again. The scriptorium is transformed by the morning light. Sunbeams pour through the eastern windows, illuminating the dust motes that dance in the air. The candle is no longer needed. Brother Thomas snuffs it out and sets it aside. The room is filled with a gentle, golden glow, and the brothers settle into their places, each at his own desk, each with his own task. The work of the day is both solitary and communal. Each scribe works in silence, but the presence of others is a comfort. There is a shared sense of purpose, a quiet camaraderie that comes from laboring together in the service of something greater than oneself. The only sounds are the soft scratching of quills, the occasional turning of a page, and the distant tolling of the monastery bells. Brother Thomas resumes his copying, his mind focused and clear. The hours pass in a gentle rhythm, marked by the slow progress of ink across parchment. He pauses occasionally to stretch his fingers, to sharpen his quill, to admire the beauty of a well-formed letter or a particularly elegant line of text. At intervals, the work is interrupted by the minor hours, short services that punctuate the day and provide moments of rest and reflection. Terce, sext, and none, each a brief return to the chapel, a chance to reset the mind and spirit before returning to the desk. As the day progresses, the light shifts, moving across the floor and walls, changing the mood of the scriptorium. In the afternoon, the work becomes more challenging. The eyes grow tired, the hand less steady. Brother Thomas is careful to pace himself, to avoid mistakes that would require tedious correction. Sometimes, the monotony is broken by a special task, a page of illumination, a decorative initial, a marginal illustration. These moments are both a challenge and a delight, an opportunity to bring color and beauty to the manuscript, to express creativity within the bounds of tradition. The pigments for illumination are prepared with great care. Lapis lazuli for blue, vermilion for red, gold leaf for the most precious highlights. The process is slow and meticulous, each color applied in layers, each detail rendered with a steady hand and a patient heart. Brother Thomas takes pride in his work, but he is not motivated by pride. His goal is not personal glory, but the faithful transmission of knowledge, the creation of something that will outlast his own brief life. He knows that the books he copies may be read by generations yet unborn, that his labor is part of a chain that stretches back into the past and forward into the future. The afternoon wears on, the light grows softer, and the scriptorium becomes quieter still. Some brothers finish their tasks and leave, others remain, lost in the world of words and ink. Brother Thomas continues, steady and unhurried, content in the knowledge that he is doing the work he was called to do. As the sun begins to lower in the sky, the golden light in the scriptorium takes on a warmer, amber hue. Shadows lengthen across the desks and the stone floor. The air grows cooler, and the sounds of the outside world, birds calling, the distant clatter of a cart on the road, filter in through the open windows. Brother Thomas pauses to rest his eyes, gazing out at the monastery gardens below. He sees the orderly rows of herbs and vegetables, the fruit trees heavy with ripening apples, the bees drifting lazily from flower to flower. The world outside is as ordered and peaceful as the world within. He returns to his work, refreshed by the brief interlude. The final pages of the day are always the most challenging, as fatigue sets in and the light begins to fade. But Brother Thomas perseveres, driven by a sense of duty and devotion. Each letter, each word, each line is an offering, a small act of faith, a contribution to the greater good. As the bell rings for Vespers, the evening prayer, Brother Thomas sets down his quill and surveys his work. 2 new pages completed, each line straight and true, each letter formed with care. He feels a quiet satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment that is deeper and more lasting than any fleeting pleasure. He covers his work with the linen cloth, weighs down the corners with smooth stones, and rises from his desk. The scriptorium is bathed in the soft, golden light of late afternoon, the air filled with the scent of parchment and ink. Brother Thomas pauses for a moment, taking in the scene, the rows of desks, the shelves of books, the quiet industry of his fellow scribes. He knows that tomorrow will bring another day of the same steady labor, the same patient devotion. And he welcomes it with a heart full of peace. Not every moment in the scriptorium is spent in focused labor. There are quiet interludes, moments of rest, reflection, and gentle connection with the world beyond the written page. The rule of silence is observed, but there are times when a whispered word is permitted, when a question must be asked or a correction made. During the midday break, the brothers gather in the cloister garden, a peaceful space enclosed by stone walls and shaded by ancient trees. Here, they walk slowly along the covered walkways, breathing in the scent of herbs and flowers, listening to the gentle trickle of water from the central fountain. The garden is a place of healing, a refuge from the demands of the scriptorium. Brother Thomas finds solace in the simple beauty of the plants, in the quiet companionship of his fellow monks. He sits on a stone bench, closes his eyes, and lets his mind drift, free from the constraints of words and lines. Sometimes, Brother Thomas exchanges a nod or a smile with Brother Marcus, the ink maker, or with Brother Augustine, who prepares the parchment. These small gestures are reminders that the work is not done alone, that each manuscript is the product of many hands and many hearts. The scriptorium is a community, and every scribe, illuminator, and craftsman plays a part in the creation of each book. On certain days, a visiting scholar or abbot will tour the scriptorium, pausing to admire the manuscripts in progress, to offer a word of encouragement or a gentle correction. These visits are rare, but they are reminders of the importance of the work, of the connection between the monastery and the wider world. Sometimes, a new commission is announced, a gospel for a distant church, a treatise for a noble patron, a psalter for a neighboring abbey. Each new project brings a sense of excitement and purpose, a reminder that the scribe's labor reaches far beyond the monastery walls. As the day draws to a close, the light in the scriptorium grows dim. The brothers light their candles once more, the small flames casting long shadows on the walls. The work slows, the atmosphere becomes more contemplative, and the sense of peace deepens. The quiet is profound, broken only by the soft sounds of quills and the occasional creak of a wooden chair. Brother Thomas takes a moment to reflect on the day's progress. He thinks of the pages he has completed, the words he has copied, the beauty he has helped to preserve. He feels a sense of gratitude for the gift of steady hands, for the companionship of his brothers, for the opportunity to serve in this quiet, meaningful way. As the bell rings for the evening meal, Brother Thomas carefully covers his work and joins the procession to the refectory. The day is nearly done, and there is a sense of quiet satisfaction in work completed, in duties fulfilled. The evening meal is simple: a bowl of soup, a piece of bread, a cup of herbal tea. The conversation is minimal, the mood serene. The brothers eat in silence, each man lost in his own thoughts, each grateful for the peace and order of monastic life. After the meal, there is time for private prayer and reflection. Brother Thomas returns to the chapel, where the last light of day filters through the stained glass windows, painting the stone walls with soft colors. He kneels in the quiet, offering thanks for the day's blessings, asking for strength and patience for the days to come. The monastery is a world apart, a place where time moves slowly, where each day is shaped by the same gentle rhythms. For Brother Thomas, these quiet interludes are as important as the hours spent at his desk. They are moments of renewal, opportunities to reconnect with the deeper purpose of his work, to find peace in the midst of labor. As the sun dips below the horizon, the monastery is bathed in the gentle glow of twilight. The air cools, and the stone walls seem to absorb the last warmth of the day, radiating a soft, comforting heat. The scriptorium, once filled with golden sunlight, is now illuminated by the flicker of candles and the deepening blue of the evening sky beyond the windows. Brother Thomas moves quietly through the corridors, his footsteps muffled by the worn flagstones. The monastery is settling into its evening rhythm, a time for reflection, for gratitude, for drawing the day to a peaceful close. The bells ring for vespers, their sound mellow and lingering, calling the brothers to the chapel for the final communal prayers of the day. The chapel is transformed in the evening light. Candles line the altar, their flames mirrored in the polished wood and the gleaming gold of sacred vessels. The stained glass windows, so brilliant in the morning, now glow with subdued color, their images softened by the fading light. The air is thick with the scent of incense, rising in slow spirals toward the vaulted ceiling. The brothers gather in silence, each taking his place in the choir stalls. The prayers begin, voices low and measured, weaving together in ancient harmonies. The words are familiar, their repetition a comfort, a reminder of the unbroken chain of faith that stretches back through the centuries. Brother Thomas lets the rhythm of the prayers wash over him, feeling the tension of the day slip away with each verse. After Vespers, the brothers remain in the chapel for a time, lost in private prayer or silent contemplation. Brother Thomas reflects on the day's work, the pages he has completed, the small challenges overcome, the moments of beauty and frustration alike. He offers thanks for the opportunity to serve, to create, to be part of something enduring and meaningful. The final meal of the day is a simple affair, taken in near silence. A bowl of lentil soup, a crust of bread, a piece of fruit from the monastery orchard. The brothers eat slowly, savoring the food and the quiet companionship. The only sounds are the gentle clink of spoons, the soft rustle of robes, the occasional creak of a bench. After supper, there is time for quiet recreation. Some brothers walk in the cloister, their figures dark against the pale stone. Others read by candlelight, their faces intent and peaceful. Brother Thomas sometimes joins a small group in the library, where they discuss the day's readings or share stories from the lives of the saints. These moments of fellowship are precious, a reminder that even in a life of silence and solitude, community is essential. As night deepens, the brothers prepare for compline, the final prayer service of the day. The chapel is dark and still, the only light coming from a few candles on the altar. The prayers are brief, their tone gentle and reassuring, a blessing for the night, a plea for protection and rest. Brother Thomas returns to his cell, a small, spare room with a narrow bed, a wooden stool, and a single window that looks out over the monastery gardens. He kneels by his bed, offering a final prayer of gratitude and hope. He thinks of the manuscript waiting on his desk, of the words yet to be written, of the quiet labor that will fill tomorrow. He lies down, pulling a woolen blanket over his shoulders. The sounds of the monastery fade into silence, the distant call of an owl, the soft sigh of wind through the cloisters, the gentle creak of ancient timbers settling into the night. Brother Thomas closes his eyes, his body weary but his mind at peace, cradled by the gentle rhythms of monastic life. Sleep comes slowly, gently, like a blessing. In his dreams, Brother Thomas walks once more through the quiet corridors of the monastery, sits at his desk in the scriptorium, watches the first light of dawn spill across the pages of his manuscript. He knows that tomorrow will bring another day of the same quiet labor, the same patient devotion, the same steady progress from darkness to light. And he welcomes it with a heart full of peace. Night settles gently over the monastery, cloaking the ancient stones in a hush that feels both sacred and eternal. The world outside is quiet, only the faintest sounds drift in through the thick walls, the distant hoot of an owl, the soft rustle of leaves in the orchard, the occasional sigh of wind weaving through the cloisters. Within these walls, the day's labors have ended, and a profound stillness reigns. In his small cell, Brother Thomas lies awake for a few moments, listening to the silence. The darkness is complete, save for a sliver of moonlight that slips through the narrow window and paints a pale line across the floor. The air is cool and fresh, scented faintly with lavender from the garden below. He breathes deeply, feeling the weight of the day slip away with each exhale. He thinks back over the hours just past, the steady rhythm of the scriptorium, the gentle camaraderie of his brothers, the quiet beauty of the prayers and the garden. He remembers the feel of the quill in his hand, the smoothness of the parchment, the satisfaction of a well-formed letter. He recalls the moments of frustration, too, a blot of ink, a cramped hand, a line that needed to be scraped away and begun again. But even these small difficulties seem distant now, softened by the peace of night. The monastery itself seems to breathe, its ancient stones holding the memory of centuries. Brother Thomas feels connected to all those who have come before him, scribes who once sat at these same desks, monks who once walked these same corridors, voices that once sang the same prayers. He is part of a living tradition, a chain of devotion and learning that stretches back through time. As he drifts toward sleep, Brother Thomas's thoughts turn to the future. He knows that tomorrow will bring another day much like this one, another dawn, another round of prayers, another quiet return to the scriptorium. There will be more pages to copy, more words to shape, more beauty to preserve. The work is never truly finished, but that is part of its grace. Each day is a new beginning, a fresh opportunity to serve, to learn, to create. He finds comfort in this constancy, in the gentle repetition of the monastic day. There is a freedom in the routine, a sense of purpose that is both humble and profound. The world outside may be filled with noise and haste, but within these walls, time moves slowly, marked by the steady tolling of bells and the quiet turning of pages. Sleep comes at last, deep and dreamless. The monastery is at rest, its inhabitants cradled in silence and peace. Somewhere in the darkness, a candle guttered out, a quill was set aside, a prayer was whispered for the world beyond the walls. And so, the day ends as it began, in quiet, in devotion, in the hope that tomorrow will bring another chance to labor in the service of something greater than oneself. Thank you for joining us on this gentle journey into the daily life of a medieval monastery scribe. May the calm rhythms of Brother Thomas's world bring you rest, comfort, and perhaps a touch of inspiration as you drift into sleep. If you enjoyed this quiet exploration, please consider subscribing to Boring History for more peaceful journeys into the past. Good night.